Today we're looking at ratio and similar figures. The first one says, write the following ratio in simplest form. So we're trying to reduce each of these. We're trying to ask ourselves, what can we divide each of these by to reduce it? But if you're like me and you don't always trust your brain, you can do this in the calculator. And the way you would use your calculator is first you would turn the ratio into a fraction. And then you would go to the calculator and you would type in that fraction. I'm going to type in 30 divided by 36, but I'm not going to write my answer as a decimal because we just want to reduce it. So we're going to go over here and hit this blue fraction button. That reduces our fraction to 5/6. So let me go over here and write that down. But we turned it into a fraction and it was written as a ratio. So our final answer just needs to be put back in ratio form, which just means 5, semicolon, then 6. And if you wanted to do it by hand without the calculator, then you could divide each of these by 6. 30 divided by 6 is 5, and 36 divided by 6 is 6. But for me, it's easier to turn my ratio into a fraction, type it in the calculator, and then rewrite it as a ratio. Marie saved $51. On Wednesday, she spent $10 of her savings. What ratio represents the portion of her total savings she still has left? All right, so we know we're writing a ratio, which is like a number, semicolon, and then another number. And it says that we want to write the ratio of the portion of her total savings she still has left. So we know we're dealing with the portion she has left and her total saving. Well, she started off with $51 and she spent 10 of it. So we got to take away the 10 that she spent, and she has 41 left. So she has 41 left, how much she has left, out of 51 total. And to figure out what goes where, you just kind of have to read the sentence. In this case, we're finding the ratio of the proportion of the savings she has left to her total savings. The price of 8.4 ounces of crackers is $2. What is the unit price? And remember, unit price means per one thing. Round your answer to the nearest cent. Okay, so if it's $2 for 8.4 ounces, we want to know the price per 1 ounce. That's how we get a unit price. So we're going to divide this. We're going to take our $2 and we're going to divide it by 8.4 ounces to figure out how much it is per each ounce. So let's type this in. 2, and you can put 0.00 if you want to, or you do not have to. $2 divided by 8.4. And it said to round to the nearest cent. I'm going to write down a couple decimals and then we'll round it. So 0.238, that's what I'm going to write down. But since we're rounding to the nearest cent, when you think about money, when you have money, we have 2 decimal places, right? So that would be, we want to round to the second decimal place, which means we look at the number behind it. If it's 5 or greater, that makes this number go up. So in this case, it would be 24 cents. Excuse me. So 24 cents per ounce. Remember, we're trying to get it down to a unit rate, which means we need to have it per 1 ounce. Jonah needs to purchase 30 juice packs for his class. While shopping, Jonah discovers the following price for comparable juice packs. Which offers the best unit price? So again, for unit price, we're just trying to figure out how much it is for one thing. So if we look here, 15 packs for $3.95. So if we want to know the unit price, we would take our $3.95 and we would divide it by 15. So let's do that in our calculator. $3.95 divided by 15. So this one is like 26 cents. I'm just going to put approximately 0.26. And now for the next one, we have 5 packs for $2.20. So we're going to do $2.20 divided by 5. and that's 44 cents. So the unit rate there is 44 cents per pack. Oh, this one was exactly. So I'm going to put equals. And then let's do this one down here. So it says $6.20 for a 20 pack. So we got to divide by 20. And that's 31 cents. And then for the last one, I'm going to do it right under here. We have $3.20 for a 10 pack. So let's go ahead and figure out that unit rate. Oops. And when you do 20 cents, you can put the 0 on the end or you don't have to. So you might have seen me leave it off sometimes. That's just kind of a habit. So this is 32 cents. And it says, which offers the best unit price? So the best would be the cheapest, right? We want to spend the least amount possible. So the cheapest here would be 26 cents per juice. That's lower than 44 cents, 31 cents, or 32 cents. So that one would be our best price. All right, solve the proportion. So when we have a proportion, remember we cross multiply. Now this one's a little bit tricky because you have to multiply 2 by the entire top. So we're doing 2 times everything in the top, which really means that we're distributing that 2 to each of them. We're doing 2 times x, and we're doing 2 times 3. You cannot just do 2 times x and then leave the 3 alone and just put plus 3. You have to make sure when you multiply that 2 that you multiply it to the entire thing. And then that's going to equal 8 times 3 and 8 times 3. Some of you have this memorized, but if you don't, we type it in. 8 times 3 is 24. Now I am solving an equation for x. I'm trying to get the x by itself. So remember, you look on the side that has x and you ask yourself, what do you need to get rid of? And in this case, you need to get rid of 6. The opposite of plus 6 is minus 6. So we're going to subtract 6 from each side. 6 minus 6 is 0. That cancels. We'll bring the 2x straight down. And 24 minus 6 is 18. Or you can do it in your calculator. Remember, we can always use calculators. And it is 18. We're not done, though, because x has to be by itself. So we still got to get rid of the 2. Right now it says 2 times x. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide each side by 2, and x equals 9. Be very, very careful. The step that you're going to miss if you miss anything is when you multiply the 2 times the x plus 3. A lot of people make this mistake where they just do 2 times x and then they put plus 3 on the end. That is not correct. You have to multiply the 2 by both of them, which is why it's 2x plus 6. So that is not correct. All right, so anyways, your answer is 9. A dozen apples cost $2.55. At this rate, how much would 6 apples cost? So what we need to do here is we need to figure out the unit rate. Even though it doesn't say to do it, that's what we're really trying to figure out. We have a dozen apples, and a dozen means 12. For $2.55. So we're going to take that $2.55 and we're going to divide it by 12 to figure out the unit rate. So let's go ahead and do that. $2.55 divided by 12. I'm going to write down this whole decimal, 0.12125. Now this is money, so we would want to round it, but I'm not going to round it yet. I'm going to wait till the very last step to round my answer. So what this tells us is that each apple costs this much. So this much per 1 apple. And we could probably go ahead and round that to 21 cents per apple. We'll probably get the same answer. Okay. So if it's 21 cents per apple and we want to get 6 apples, we would take 6 times the 21 cents. And I'm going to write down both to see if it ends up rounding the same. I'm going to do it before I round and after I round and see how close it is. So 6 times 0.2125. This answer is 1.275. And then 6 times 0.21 is... Okay, so these do round differently. So I don't know which way it does in Connexus. I know that this way is the most accurate. If you were at a grocery store, the 6 apples would end up costing you $1.28. And if you round before on the unit rate, then you get $1.26, and that is a different answer. So since it doesn't say in here how to round, I'm a little bit confused, but I would probably keep the whole amount here and then round at the very end. But to solve this problem, first thing you got to do is get the unit rate. So take your price, divide it by 12, get your unit rate, and then multiply it by however many apples you want to buy. All right, use cross products to determine which of the following pairs of ratios cannot form a proportion. So remember, when we cross multiply, they have to be equal. So 9 times 1 is 9. 3 times 3 is also 9. That works. Let's try the next one. 2 times 9 is 18. 3 times 4 is 12. Wah, wah, wah. That does not work. That is not a proportion. You could check the rest just for good measure. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 4 is 12. That works. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. So you can see that the one that's not a proportion is the red one because it does not equal when you cross multiply. Solve the following proportion. All right, since it's a proportion, we know we can cross multiply. 3 times x equals 15 times 13. So let's go type in 15 times 13 is 195. And then we're going to divide that by 3. And that is 65. Oh, I should have done each step. I'm sorry. So 3x equals 195. The reason I knew I was dividing by 3 is because I have 3 times x, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. And so that's how I knew. I like to cross multiply, then divide. So I kind of took a little calculator shortcut there. All right. Triangle ABC and DEF are similar. So we already know they're similar. That means we know their corresponding angles are equal and their corresponding sides are proportional. And we want to find the values of x and y. So when we start this, the first thing we need to do, we know we're going to set up 2 fractions. Remember, it doesn't matter how you set up the first fraction. We do need a fraction that has numbers. So let's just look. There's tons and tons and tons and tons of ways to do this. I'm going to write a fraction out of my first picture first. So I'm just going to do 21 over 12. And then when I write my second fraction, I have to make sure I get corresponding parts. So 21 was the diagonal here, so I got to make sure that I put x on top for that one. And then 12 was the horizontal, so I got to make sure that I put the horizontal on the bottom for that one. So that's how I'm going to set up my first fraction, and then I'm going to cross multiply to solve for x. Remember, you cross multiply, then divide. 21 times 4, and then we're going to divide it by 12. And then 84 divided by 12 is 42. Wait, was it 42? Yeah, okay. Oh, I did 84 divided by 2. I'm like, that can't be it. What in the world? It's 7. I was losing my mind. And you know why I knew that that can't be it? When I wrote down that number, we're dealing with side lengths here that's 21, and this one's smaller. Like, that can't be 42. It's got to be smaller. That's why that didn't make any sense. So now let's solve for y. So I'm going to fill in the value that I know now. Now I know that x is 7. Okay. And since I want to solve for y, when I set up my first fraction, again, it doesn't matter how I set it up, but I got to make sure I put y in it since I want to know y. So I'm going to go ahead and do y over 12 as my first fraction.